Thanks for joining me on episode 634 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Ryan Engelstad from Pop Psych 101. I encourage you to find health, and one way to be inspired to do that is by listening to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, with my friend, Scott Mader.
Because right now it's more important than ever that whatever skills you have, whatever knowledge you have, whatever abilities that you have, that you are learning and developing and growing and getting better at communicating those than you've ever been before. Because right now people are hurting. And as part of that, one of the most important and little understood steps to good communication is called shut up and listen. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world. In today's episode about impacting the world through stewarding your talent, I talk with you about why communication is really the key to all success. I share the single biggest barrier to good communication, and I talk about why right now this is more important than ever. You've heard me talk about developing your talent, and one of the best ways to do that is through books. But if you're like most people today, it's hard to find the time to read. And that's why today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Go to inspiredstewardship.com/audible to sign up, and you can get a 30-day free trial. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from, and you can pick one and listen your way to developing your talents via Audible. That's inspiredstewardship.com/audible to get your free trial and listen to great books the same way you're listening to this podcast. Communication. The truth is that when I talk to people about the struggles that they're having when it comes to working with people, when it comes to talking to other people, convincing people that, you've got a good product or good service, that you're doing well, when it talks about sales, marketing, when I talk to folks about how they're struggling in their marriage, with their spouse, with their friends, with their family, one of the terms that comes up over and over and over again is communication. How bad it is, how hard it is to communicate well, how other people just don't understand you or understand what you say or the message that you put out. And trust me, I understand. I have the same problem. I think all of us do as human beings. We struggle to be heard and to have ourselves heard and to understand what others are saying and doing. You have a meeting with someone and you feel like at the end of it, you've come to an understanding, and yet something doesn't happen. It doesn't follow through. Nothing clicks. You don't have a successful conversation. And that feeling of not being heard is one of the biggest problems that we all deal with. Communication is a key to success, because the truth is, if you want to frame it this way, and I do, all of us communicate all of the time, even with ourselves. The truth is that our inner communication, our self-talk, or the way we view ourselves, the way we set ourselves up for things, even that is a form of communication. We have limiting beliefs, we have internal habits, we have cognitive patterns and biases that we fall into that cause us to succeed or fail beyond just our ability to communicate with others. It's even our communication with ourselves that can hold us back from success. The quote that I love is by George Bernard Shaw. It says, "The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place." And that's really true. There's barriers in communication, both internally and externally. We have a tendency to feel like we have been heard even when we don't hear others. And we have a tendency to believe that we've understood others when we truly haven't. We tend to have a set of biases and stereotypes that go on in our head that cause us and interfere with our ability to understand others and to be understood. See, everything works both directions. We have the curse of knowledge in our own head. We understand what we intend, what we believe, and where we're coming from, and all of our knowledge and our internal jargon and words that we use. But then when we speak them, we assume that others have the same internal meaning, the same hooks, the same connections, and they understand everything that we have said. But the truth is that's seldom true. And even with your internal dialogue, when you say things to yourself, you have a certain amount of belief and stereotype that's built into that. You have limiting beliefs that you believe, this is the way it has to be done. This is what has to be said. This is what has to be spoken, when in reality, that may not be true. If you're listening carefully, you can probably tell I'm a little hoarse today. And one of the reasons why is I've been doing a lot of workshops and a lot of presentations. So today I've already had 4 different meetings and 4 different conversations with folks. Over the last month, I've probably had 100 or more. And the truth is, part of the reason why I'm doing that is because I think right now, with everything that's going on in the world, with the coronavirus, with Black Lives Matters, with all different issues in many different countries, we all need to be understanding each other more than ever before. We need to be able to be heard and to hear each other. Now, I'm not an expert in epidemiology and I'm not an expert in other areas, but I am really good at helping people manage their time, their talent, and their treasures. I've been doing this for years and I've built up a lot of skill. So those are the 3 areas where I'm just going out there and serving others. If you're interested in attending one of those workshops, go to my website, jump on any of my mailing list, and I'll be happy to send you out information as we release the next round. I'm not doing this alone either. I'm surrounded by a group of coaches with similar beliefs. And yeah, we don't believe everything exactly the same. We don't always see eye to eye on every topic, but we all believe it's important that we get out there and serve and provide help using the skills that we've developed, not because we want more people to sign up for our coaching. Yeah, some people are going to see what we're doing and say, hey, I'm interested. Let's meet. But the real truth is it's about getting out there and serving each other, because right now it's more important than ever that whatever skills you have, whatever knowledge you have, whatever abilities that you are learning and developing and growing and getting better at communicating those than you've ever been before. Because right now people are hurting. And as part of that, one of the most important and little understood steps to good communication is called shut up and listen. Again, all too often, what we're doing when we're communicating is really just waiting for our turn to speak. But the truth is, one of the most powerful tools in good communication is asking questions and listening to what the other person has to say. And now, more than ever, while the world is hurting, it's time for us to all step up and learn to communicate better than ever before. Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of talent, you can go over to inspiredstewardship.com/talent and sign up for our 5-week series on the stewardship of talent. Or if you're in the U.S., you can text 44222 talent tips. That's talent tips to 44222 and get those tips. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.